After nearly 3 decades in the game, baseball for Pete Rose became a vanished reality Thursday. Baseball Commissioner Bart Giamatti in New York ended 6 months of swirling questions and banished Pete Rose permanently from baseball in front of a backdrop appropriately draped in funereal black.
The banishment for life of Pete Rose from baseball is the sad end of a sorry episode. One of the game's greatest players has engaged in a variety of acts which have stained the game, and he must now live with the consequences of those acts.
In Cincinnati, Pete Rose fought through the sweeping emotion and finality of his judgment day.
And as you can imagine, this is a very sad day. You know, I've been in baseball 3 decades, and to think that I'm going to be out of baseball for a very short period of time.
That was CNN 26 years ago, reporting that Pete Rose was thrown out of baseball. Welcome back to Daily Wrap with Rick Unger, Heather Hansen, and the Rabbi Shmuley. I am Joe Concha, and I am your leadoff man and utility player for this particular segment. That's a little wordplay using some baseball terminology. Anyway, since that August day in 1989, Pete Rose has been trying to get himself back into baseball, appealing to one baseball commissioner after another. Bud Selig didn't think Charlie Hustle should be allowed to return, particularly when it comes to Canton in the Hall of Fame, when asked by Charlie Rose this past January.
I just felt, obviously, by not doing anything, that it was in baseball's best interest, and everyone's best interest, to leave the suspension as it was.
Well, with Selig out now as commissioner and baseball with a new one in Rob Manfred, it seems that he may have a little bit more of an open mind.
When you have a request like this, I think it's important and, in fact, incumbent on me to understand all that went on, what led Commissioner Giamatti to where he landed on the issue, what the agreement was that was reached, and why that agreement was reached. And so, you know, I need to really start from square one in terms of those facts.
Okay, so Pete Rose bet on baseball. He sort of admitted it, and then he was kicked out. Should the new commissioner forgive and forget and allow him back into baseball, more importantly, into the Hall of Fame?
See, that's the thing. In 1989, he was kicked out of baseball. In 1991, they changed the rules so that he could no longer be allowed in the Hall of Fame. So that's one of the reasons that I think that he should be allowed in the Hall of Fame. The other thing for me that's important is that what he did had no impact on the game that he was playing. You compare that to A-Rod, you compare that to some of the others like Bonds who have been accused of...
He never bet on anybody against him.
He always bet for his team.
Yes,
so all of those things in conjunction, to me, makes it seems fair to allow him back in. It seems fair. I mean, he's the only person, I believe, that's ever been completely suspended forever from the game of baseball. It just doesn't seem fair, given what we see in all these other sports, given what we see in the NFL, and all of, you know, what other baseball players have done. It just doesn't seem right that he should pay such a price for what is relatively minor infraction.
Rick, I guess that's the question, that do we bring into play the person, as obviously the stats, you know, most hits ever, right? And Charlie Hustle and all the championships that he won and so on. So no one could argue his resume. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Awesome. But a guy like Ty Cobb, for instance, wasn't the best person in the world, right? And Mantle was a drunk. And you could just go on and on and on, like when you find things off the field. However, this affected the integrity of the game, betting on it, even though he didn't bet against his team.
Heather's analysis was really, really very good. Because I agree with the result. I will say his transgression was not minor. Betting on baseball is a big deal. But I think the punishment for what he did was being thrown out of baseball forever. For a guy like Pete Rose, that was a horrible, remarkable punishment. But it has nothing to do with his performance as a player. He's not being offered up into the Hall of Fame as a manager. Right. It might have an impact on that. That's when he did it. Mm-hmm. But as a player, who was better? Of course he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Rabbi.
Well, as someone who had to give up professional sports for a higher calling, because I think this kind of masculine perfection speaks for itself. I think it's time for a little bit of forgiveness. Brian Williams got 6 months. Pete Rose got lifetime suspension. It's been almost 3 decades already. I would give a course of true change. Let him do something spectacular that would win over the confidence of the public, for the public to say this man really has changed, and now he's done great things for baseball, and he should be forgiven. Because punitive measures that don't have any kind of rectification just kind of always strike me the wrong way. He's not a terrible human being. He did something bad. Give him something that he can do to change it.
Let's do a lightning round to end this. Does he get back into baseball? Does the new commissioner say, Pete, welcome back?
I bet he does.
I think so too.
Not back into baseball, but into the Hall of Fame.
That'll be the compromise.
I think that's a possibility. It's still a long shot for him.
I watched that sod. I'm a yay. I watched that soundbite earlier.
On the phone. We have decided this
from the commissioner, and
unanimously, by the way.
Yes.
I get the feeling that this new commissioner will bring him back in, that time has finally healed this wound, and yes, you're right, not in baseball as a hitting coach or something for somebody, but certainly into Canton with a very big asterisk next to his name. Anyway, when we come back, it's potluck time, and then yay or nay. Wow, this is the Daily Wrap, and it's only on Newsmax TV.